Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Archeryshack Shop Talk. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
I think we're on number 34.
Yep.
34 weeks in a row. Thanks for watching. Y'all are cool.
Yep, we appreciate it.
We think you're cool. We've never met you. But anyway, we're still in the middle of the Corona. We got all kind of updates on the Corona and some shoots. We got questions and answers. We got other stuff to talk about, giveaways and all kind of stuff. But first, we got our featured product to talk about, and today it is the Bear Constrictor Crossbow.
What is it? Disclosure. We're not getting paid by Bear to do this.
I wish we was.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but yeah, we don't get paid to do this. This is just something that we think is interesting and some people might like.
If they call and order one, we'll get paid.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, they didn't send us this for free. That would have been cool though.
Yeah.
The Constrictor is a 410 feet per second little crossbow. It's only 10 inches cocked, so it's a pretty small crossbow. And the big kicker is it sells for about $600 as it sits with a scope and the quiver and the arrows and the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So when we seen them come out into last year, we were like, we need to get a bunch of these, and we did. And I will post more information in the comments. But if you're in the if $600 is sort of your price range and you want a crossbow and you want one that's not a big one, this is probably what I'd go with. We
got a nice scope. It's got the illuminating reticles in it.
Yeah.
I didn't put the batteries in none of these because I figured people be coming in, look at it, turn it on, turn it off, and batteries go dead, so I left them out. But it's got the adjustable AR style stock on the back of it. Pretty sweet looking little crossbow for $600.
Yeah. You like I say, check it out. If you're in the market for like a $300 to $400 crossbow, the Saga, what is it? The Saga
405.
I should have brought one of them out too. They're a good one for the price, but on the cheaper end, you're getting up into some decent stuff when you get to this one, and then you want to go super high end. You got your 10 points and Ravens and all that. That's real tiny. But this one's not big at all.
No, it's not. Everybody
that's seen it and then heard the price, because just a couple of years ago, this would have been $1,000+ crossbow.
Oh yeah, so no doubt.
You can adjust, like you said, you can adjust the stock and the everything on it. So it's not a bad one. Check it out. Like I say, I'll put some more information in the old description. But
and it got a top-sided quiver mount on this one. I was kind of curious why they did that. And when the rep brought them in late last year, he's like, most people wear a sling, and he said you're walking through the woods with it, and he said your quiver is doing nothing but hitting you in the shoulder and the back of the head, and he said so that's why they went that route. So I was like, okay, makes sense, but I don't know if you can mount it on the bottom or not. I haven't had a chance to do any tinkering on that one yet.
Yeah. It's so small, we ended up buying a new press just to press this little joker.
Yeah, I know.
Because I was like, I don't want to sell them and we can't work on them. So we went ahead and got the little micro or mini or whatever they call it, adapters for the last chance.
Blame nose is itching.
Uh-oh.
But anyway.
What does that mean? That's supposed to mean something.
I can't remember. It's if your right hand itches or something. I can't remember my wives' tale, but something about if your left hand itches, I think you're getting money. Your right hand itches, you got to pay money.
Good God.
Your ears are burning. Somebody's talking about you, and I can't remember if your nose is itching. What that one was, I can't remember that one.
So hopefully y'all seen our live feed from Thursday. We had that crossbow that was about ready to blow, and we took it apart live and then gave away some stuff. But it was interesting. We had a lot of good feedback from that one. So
yeah, we did.
Maybe we need more live action.
Live action.
We got questions that y'all sent in and commented and texted and all that. So we'll go through those like we normally do, and then we got some other stuff to talk about.
Yep.
So we'll let them rip.
You ready for the first one?
Yeah.
All right. Please talk about clarifiers and verifiers, and this comes from one of our YouTube watchers.
I remember seeing it. I don't remember who commented it.
I don't either. But, I remember seeing it.
Clarifiers and verifiers, we've talked about them a couple times, but people always come in asking about them. So Let's start with the Clarifier. The Clarifier was the first one that came out many moons ago now, but it's for a lens on your sight. You got like a 246 power lens, and you can see the pin, but the target's blurry. You put a Clarifier in, and it clears up the target. The Verifier has been out for several years, but it was several years after the Clarifier. But the Verifier is the opposite. You can see your target, but your pins are blurry, and it's usually just an old pin sight. You put your Verifier in, and it clears your pins up some. So that's pretty much the gist of it. You can get them in all different sizes from Specialty.
Hamsky makes one.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of people making them now.
Hamskys are high, but they make one.
Now, I might be wrong on this, but on a Verifier, you're not running a lens in your scope, right?
Right.
Okay.
I only know one guy that said a Verifier helped him with a lens, but that's really not what it's
designed to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it could work according to what kind of eye problems you got, but anyway. And then with me, I shoot a Clarifier. I didn't for years, and I put the lowest power they make in mine, even though I'm supposed to shoot a higher powered one, because if you get too much Clarifier, suddenly the target's clear and it's harder to see the pin. So I put the low power in mine to where I'm sort of the best of both worlds. My target's still not crystal clear, but I can still see what I'm aiming with without having to do all kind of crazy stuff. And I know when we tried those 10,000ths pins,
oh man,
I absolutely could not see my pin with a Clarifier. So that's one of the reasons I stuck with a 19.
And here's the funny thing, we're on that. I can take mine and put just a regular standard green fiber optic ring in my sight.
Mm-hmm.
Have no problem seeing it. I run the Super 7, which I love, my light kit, and it dims out on the brightest setting. It dims out on me, and I have yet to figure out why.
That's weird.
So I went to a lower power on my Clarifier, and it seemed to help a little bit. So I may try to go down another power and see if that works. Helps out anyhow. I'll keep y'all up to date if you want to hear any more about that. So
Clarifiers and Verifiers.
Yep. Our next one comes in from the 864. What's a cheap arrow scale?
You can get a cheap one off. I'll put a link. Look in my description, but there's a cheap one on Amazon. We've got one here, and it was cheap. I don't remember the exact price. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I hate to say it, but I think people use them for like weed scales because it comes in a package with like weed leaves on it.
If you do reloading like ammunition and stuff, one of those scales will work just as good.
And they think a lot of them.
Oh yeah, they think a lot of them. But
yeah, here like $12. I'm gonna put a link to that one, the $12 one. It's the little pocket one like we got.
Oh yeah.
Now we do the main one we use is from Last Chance Archery, but you looking more along the $40 line or somewhere, and it's a great scale, but if you're just looking for a cheap one that works, you don't need that. So
no,
I'm gonna put a link to one or both of them in the thing, and if you click it, it'll help out our channel.
Yep. All right.
Well, not if you click it, if you buy something from it.
Aaron on Facebook wants to know, I'm getting a knock low tear. How do I fix?
I wonder what bow he's got.
Yeah, that'd be the starter right there.
Any kind of a bad paper tear, the first thing I'm going to do is level the string, level the arrow, make sure it's level. With a knock low, it's probably going to be sitting uphill in theory. And then I'm going to get my center shot right. And then if that still don't work, I'm going to check my cam timing, because if you got a cam ahead of the other, you can cause knock high, knock low. Then I'm going to make sure my arrow's clearing. A knock low could be if you got a big fletching and you got to drop away with one of those bars over it, it could be clipping that bar and knocking it down. After all that, definitely look at arrow spine. After that, then I'm going to start playing with, it's according to the bow. If it's got a control cable, I'm going to start playing with it a little bit. And that's kind of the start of it, So that's pretty much what I would do. Most of the time, at least half the time, it's just a straight up, the arrow's not sitting level before you shoot it. And that fixes it right out of the gate. Very, very rare does it get into a big tuning fiasco.
Yeah. All right. next one comes in from the 723. Do you guys know of a cheap backstop for arrows in my yard? I don't want to kill my neighbors.
Damn.
I would say, now we've done this. This was before bows were as fast as they are and everything. If you could get a hold of a piece of styrofoam that was out from under a boat dock,
Yep.
that worked. But with today's bows,
Yeah.
I mean, I used this back when I had my
It'll hang out
FX.
the back. Yeah, it'll hang out the back of it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I had old Matthews FX, and it would stop pretty good. But, nowadays, oof.
I'll tell you, well, it's not like anybody else will be able to get this, but we got some factories in town, and a guy that works there said, hey, we got these huge conveyor belts. He said the conveyor belts are 8 foot wide by like 20 or 30 yards long. Is there anything y'all can do with those? And I was like, heck yeah. On our 100-yard target, I've actually got that behind it to stop arrows. But like I say, I don't, unless you just have a buddy that works at a big factory. Now, I know the horse stall mats work, but I don't know how cheap they are from like Tractor Supply.
I don't know. And depending on where you're at, maybe a big round bale of hay.
Yeah, that'd be better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then, like, companies make backstop nets or netting, they call it, but that stuff is high. God,
it
it's
is
high. So it's hard to say. I mean, if you, I don't know, it's hard to say without knowing exactly the setup. If you got a fence and you could just put up some old junk plywood, like a foot between it and your fence to catch it, or I don't know. It's hard to say. Cheap is he put cheap in there, right? What's a good cheap backstop?
Know of a good cheap backstop.
Yeah.
My guess would be a round bale of hay. But, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Other than those, I'm trying to think too. I mean, we've built targets before and pretty much took 2x4s and framed them out, filled them with old clothes, just cut the buttons and stuff off, and then put you a carpet face on it. Now, you can build a pretty big one of those, and you can use it as a target or a backstop. I don't know how big of an area you want to cover, I guess is my main question.
Yeah.
Or are you in like a, if you're in a little bitty subdivision, it's going to be different than if you're something different. But
yeah.
Like I say, I know I've heard of people using those horse stall mats, and I think you can get them pretty big, but I think they're also $200, so that's not cheap. And those little curtains they make, I think they're $400.
Yeah.
And they'll stop an arrow, but I don't know how. They're not really meant to leave out in the weather or anything. Like TJ said, if you can get some hay and get it, however you can get it positioned, that would work. Hay's not a good target to shoot at anymore unless you get like a low poundage recurve.
Yeah.
But most of the time it will stop the arrow. It might be in the middle of it, but it'll stop it.
I mean,
that's about the only thing I can come up with.
I mean, maybe if you didn't go round bale, you go square bales and just stack them.
Yeah, if it would stop it, I don't know. I mean, it would slow it down substantially.
Yeah.
If anybody has any other suggestions, put them in the comments, because I'm just racking my brain. I
Me
haven't come
too.
up with anything yet.
Maybe if you knew somebody that had a boat dock or something like that, or you can get, a couple pieces of those styrofoam, because, I mean, they were pretty good. I mean, they were thick.
When South Carolina, I guess it was probably the late 90s, passed this thing and said, hey, if you got a dock, you got to replace your styrofoam with styrofoam that has I guess you'd call it like a case around it. In other words, they didn't want big chunks of styrofoam breaking free and floating in the lake. So a lot of styrofoam back then could be found just by going and asking the boat dock people. And I remember back in the day, the first 3D range thing I'd set up, I went and got a bunch of that styrofoam and put behind the target to catch arrows when people missed, and it worked great. But I hadn't inquired about getting styrofoam in a long time.
Me
so I don't
neither.
know if it's still. And we got a lake right down the road here, so a big lake, so it's easy for us. I don't know if that's the same everywhere else or not, but yeah, styrofoam's usually free and cheap.
Yeah.
And usually it's all like water logs, so that helps even more.
Yeah. But if we think of anything else, we will comment it on this post also.
Or if y'all know anything, comment it, because there's probably some cool stuff we don't even know about.
Exactly.
So.
All right. This one comes in from the 632. What's the average depreciation of $1,000 bow after 1 year?
That's a good question.
Yep.
Man, I'm going to think. I will say this. Let me start.
If it's got 2 names on it.
Well, yeah, a Matthews holds its value the best.
Yep.
That's a definite fact. But you can also look. Let's say a bow comes out in November. By January, you can already find them used online for $200-$300 off the price, and that's about any manufacturer.
Yeah.
Let's start with, let's say, a Matthews first, and let's take the Verdicts. I've seen, that's a year-old bow. I've seen a bug just flew by me. I about snorted it up my nose. I've seen those, and they're selling, according to where you're at in the country, between $900 and $1,100. But I've seen them online for $750, sort of the low end bare bow. So you're looking at about a $300.
Yeah. $300 to $400 saving.
Now let's take. I'm going to say PSE because we sell PSEs, and I hate that it's this way. But I've seen the new PSEs come out in October, and usually in a year. And I don't know if it's because PSE has so many bows, or I don't know. But I mean, I've seen, $1,000 PSE going for $400 and $500 after a year. I mean, it's like 50% off. So it's just according to the brand.
Yeah, that's really what it depends on is brand. Because I mean, everybody's on Facebook, and
yeah, it's more than ever. People are dumping bows all over the internet. I mean, eBay, Facebook.
I mean, shoot, I've seen some 1-year-old primes that are. I'm sitting there thinking, good grief.
Yeah.
And they want to sell them set up for what they pretty much.
I don't know if it's people, hunting season's over, I'm gonna dump it, or if they're wanting to buy a new one. I don't know what the I mean, we don't take in a whole lot of used bows, but there will be people that come in here, or occasionally I'll see one on the internet, and I'll be like, I can't pass this up because it's a money maker. But
yeah,
I remember one time an Elite, I think it was the E32 in snow camo, and everybody was, for whatever reason, was going crazy about it, and somebody listed one on Facebook. This was several years ago. I messaged them, just sort of kind of curious, interested. Could kind of tell they needed money now, so I threw them out an offer. They took it. I ended up buying that thing and knew, I think it was $900.
I think so.
I got it. It wasn't even a year old quite, and I got that thing for like $375. Got it in here, threw a new string on it to match, and I mean it did good. But if you kind of keep your eye out, you can find some deals.
So. All right. The next one comes in from the 223. Please describe your perfect arrow building process and tools needed.
Man, that might take a minute.
Yeah. Be nice to know if it's 3D or hunting.
Yeah. Well, like if I got a set of shafts and I'm going to build them for anything and I want them perfect, what I'm going to do is I usually take a little 22 cleaning brush, because they'll have, from the factory, they'll have all kind of dust and crap on the inside. I'll run that down it a few times, clean out the inside. Some arrows are bad about having a lot of dust on the outside, so I might wipe the outside off with some alcohol or whatever. Then I usually take all my components, and this is if I want them like perfect. I'll get one of those little grain scales we talked about earlier. I'll take my 12, whatever I got, inserts or glue-in tips or what, and this knock bushings, knocks, the whole 9 yards. I'll weigh them all out, and I'll stack them in front of me from heaviest to lightest, and then I'll do that with everything. I'll cut my shafts. If I got to tune with one, I'll cut one that way, and I'll cut it on the longer end of what I think I need, and then that way if I got to trim it off, it's just one arrow if I screw up,
Yeah.
Once I get that built and get it figured out, I'll cut those arrows, same thing, get all the dust out, the whole 9 yards, and then I'll weigh those shafts out, and then I'll say, all right, this shaft is 2 grains lighter than my heaviest shaft, so I'll take the 2 grain lighter shaft and put the heaviest tip, and knock bushing in it, and the tip and the knock bushing, they might vary like a grain, over the whole batch.
Yeah.
So by the time you do that, you take your lightest arrow, put the heaviest stuff. You take your heaviest arrow, put the lightest stuff, and the middle arrows kind of get the middle stuff. You can usually build a dozen arrows, and be the whole set be within a grain, 1 to 2 grains max, total variance. And then, when I fletch them, it's according to what fletching I'm using, but like that Veinmaster Pro is super precise. The Bitzenberger's not bad. Just make sure if I'm Bitzenbergering, even though we got a bunch of them, and I want the best arrow possible, I'm going to use that same jig on every arrow, to make sure everything is perfect. And then, pretty much after that, I'm going to spin them on an arrow spinner, make sure everything looks good, probably weigh them once they're completely built and fletched, and then I kind of like to number my arrows, and I'll just take a silver Sharpie, and on the back, right in front of the knock on the carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 12. And then, just in case I have one arrow that flies funky, I can start watching it and be like, hey, that number 5 arrow, for some reason, is not doing right. And if that's the case, I'll, after a while, I'll strip it, refletch it, make sure it's not a fletching problem. If it still flies funky, maybe I don't shoot that one, or that's a squirrel arrow or whatever. And I've had that happen. I'll have one arrow out of the 12. It just it weighs the same and everything looks right. It just something ain't right about it. But then you'll start changing out nocks and fletching, and if I don't fix it, then it gets put in the corner. But that's like the whole.
That would be the perfect process now.
If I'm just building a set, or building me a hunting arrow, even if you don't do all that, you're still going to be within a couple grains, and it's, nothing's going to be right. On a hunting arrow, I'm going to spin it with my broadheads on it and make sure my head of my broadhead's not wobbling and my stuff is squared. And speaking of squaring, we use that G5 arrow squaring device. After we cut them, we'll roll them on that and make sure everything's perfect. But that's pretty much it. That's about as far as you can go as getting it right on the money.
Yep.
So if you get some people, if they'll buy like let's say a company offers a 1, 3, and 6 thousandths arrow, they'll buy the 6 thousandths arrows, and I've done this before. They'll spin it, and if they notice, all right, the front of this one looks like it might be wobbling just barely, so they'll go ahead and cut off a couple inches of the front, or the back looks like it's a little sketchy, let me cut off a little bit of the back. We don't see that a lot, but if you wanted to take a junkier arrow and make it a better arrow, you could do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's like the perfect situation. And it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. Lewis from Instagram asked, cheapest way to build a draw board?
Probably like we did. If you look at our other... Who is this? Oh, somebody commented on our YouTube thing. Look at some of our videos. What we've ultimately got here, and I still have yet to see anything that I would put above what we got. What we've got here is I took a big old long lag bolt, and you are going to have a little bit of I guess you could get by with an 8-foot ceiling if you did this right, but we got a 14-foot ceiling over here, but so I put a lag bolt in, I wrap it with a bunch of electrical tape, that's where my grip's going to go, and it's down about waist height. Go up the wall, put another lag bolt in. Now you want to center a stud. This thing needs to be stout.
Yeah.
I'm going to hook a block and tackle. And, a block and tackle is something that gives you a mechanical advantage. Just say if you were like raising up a deer or something to weigh it, that's what I'm talking about, with some good thick rope. And then on the end of the block and tackle, I've got my draw weight scale. So I hook my bow handle to the lower bolt coming out of the wall. The block and tackle comes down, and then I got my loop hooked to the bow scale, and then I just easily pull the bow back. The reason I like it is I can look at both cams right in front of me. The reason I don't like, let's say, the Last Chance archery one, even though it's perfect for like a home shop, is the bow is sitting upright like you're shooting it. So, yeah, I can look at the top cam standing there, but to look at the bottom one, I'm going to have to get down on my knees or squat or whatever. So I like the way we rigged ours up. Like I say, look at some of our tuning videos and you'll see exactly the way it is. But that's my favorite one. And honestly, you could build one of these. The most money you'd have is being the block and tackle and the scale.
Yeah.
And you can buy a cheap scale. You can get an X-Spot draw weight scale now for like $20 or $30, and then a block and tackle. I have no idea what they cost. Someone just Google it. The one I'm using, I actually used to use to weigh deer with. Let's see what they cost.
And I'm sure there's different sizes and everything else. So, you might not have to go I'd say we got a pretty good size block and tackle on that one, but you may not have to go as big as that. So it may be a little bit cheaper.
Now here's just an example on Amazon. Here's one that'll handle 4,000 pounds, and it's only $20. So something like that. Let's say for $50 you could build an easy one. Long as you just need a good available wall to screw stuff into. And like I say, like when I put these big lag bolts in the studs, I literally ran them, all the way through that stud, because I mean, in reality, about an 80-pound bow is going to be all the max, and it's just going to be for that peak weight, and then it's going to let off. But still, you don't want that thing coming out of the roof and popping you in the head or nothing. That could be or blowing a bow up. So we've used it just like this back at Bucks and Bass, and it's just the best thing I've seen. I do have an apple draw board, and it's opposite. It's got, you put the bow and it draws it down, and I do like it, but what I don't like is the bow is right in front of your face. So if somebody brings one in and they're worried about a limb or whatever, and that thing were to turn loose, it is right in front of your head. With the one we got, we can kind of back up if it's a problem,
Well, and the only thing that I don't like about the old Apple one is it's got the old boat winch on it where you crank it back. You don't have any control if something was to happen and that sun gun go shooting out the top of it. If that, that lock broke or anything like that. With the one we've got, you've got a little bit of control over it since you're the one pulling the rope and everything. So,
as long as you don't have a rope that's got a lot of give to it, it's perfect at timing cams. You just got to get the feel right. But you can sit there and with it right in front of you, you'll see both cams and everything. So that's my favorite by far.
All right. Our next question comes in from Jim, and he asks, what is creep tuning?
Creep tuning is, let me move my microphone a little bit. Okay.
I know I had to ask you about this one because I was like, creep tuning, I went blank on it.
Creep tuning is, so the ultimate theory is this, and I've done it before. I never think to do it much anymore, but you get your bow tuned like normal, and then you go out to the, let's say this 20-yard target, or you could go whatever yardage you wanted to. You shoot 3 arrows normal. Of course, it's going to hit the bullseye. Then you shoot 3 arrows and you pull pretty hard into you stop. You know what I mean? You, instead of just kind of sitting there, you pulling hard, shoot those 3. Then the next 3, you don't let the bow take off, but you really don't pull into the stop at all. You just kind of barely got it back. And then you compare where those arrows hit. And there will be a difference probably, especially the further yardage as you go. So then you can fine tune and twist and untwist your control cable and then do the same thing. And ultimately you say the sweet spot for this is here, and the thinking behind it is if you're at a tournament in sort of a high pressure situation, you may either be hammered back on that back wall or you may be about ready to let it roll because you're nervous and that type of thing. And that's pretty much creep tuning. You just kind of figure out the sweet spot of the control cable or the stops or whatever to where if you're pulling hard or you're not pulling at all, they hit super close together. I've done it. Like I say, I haven't done it in a while, but it does make a little bit of sense.
All right. The next one comes in from the 423 and asks, what makes a bowstring good?
A lot of stuff, to be honest. I mean, we could talk about this for an hour.
Yeah.
So, the number one material manufacturer is BCY. Almost everybody's using BCY to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Brownell, who was number 2, actually went out of business, but then got rebought by a French company?
A French company,
or Italian or something. And now they're coming back on the scene, but I don't know how well. For now, they're not, a big dog again. And then Bloodline, I really have liked their material, but again, they're just an up-and-coming company. So material-wise, everybody's sort of on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
All right. Your differences get into your build process. So, like, if some random guy's building a set in his home shop, which is completely fine, and this is what people need to understand. If random guy has got the process down in his basement, he can build as good of a set as anybody.
Yep.
Sometimes, and everybody started there, you know what I mean? Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
The key is, in my opinion, the stretching process. So, the way we kind of do it is it gets laid out, then it gets tension put to it before it gets twisted, then it gets twisted under tension, served under tension, and then stretched some more. That way, we get in every ounce of what they call creep out of it, and creep is a stretch that does not recover. So when people say my string stretch is a recoverable thing. It'd be like a rubber band. You stretch it and it goes back to normal. That happens with a string as well. We can take a string, put it under 400 or 500 pounds of tension for a little while, measure it as soon as we take the tension off, and it will actually shrink up. I'm talking a minute amount, but it'll shrink up a little bit. But if we stretch it right out of the gate, and then we started, let's say, with a 60-inch string, let it stretch for 30 minutes or whatever the time is, then we check it, we relax it, let it sit for another 30 minutes, and then we check it, and let's say it's 60 and a 16th, you know what I mean? So that 16th is considered creep. But anyway, the build process as far as the stretching goes is what I think is the big thing. If you don't serve under tension, what ultimately can happen, and I remember this used to happen to me back in the 90s before stretching was a big thing. I would have tension on my server, and it would actually twist or bind up the string even more under the serving than it was outside the serving, if that makes sense. And it would cause all sorts of peep twist issues. But like us now, we got these fancy machines. Thank God Specialty came out with these machines.
Man, you ain't lying.
And, we got around 400 pounds, a little over 400 pounds on them the whole time. You know what I mean? So we twist them under tension. It stays at that same tension. We serve them under tension. And then we move them to another pneumatic area we got over there, and we stretch them some more. So, and in theory, the 400 pounds or a little more, for the most part, is more than what your average bow is going to put on them, on a cable. The string never has that much tension. The string needs to be more of a balanced, it needs to be pre-stretched. That's not what I'm saying. But the string needs to be a super balanced thing because you're worried about your peep and all this stuff. The cables are what's loading up when you pull the thing back. And I hadn't done any kind of testing in a good while, but, you're looking at 200, 250 pounds on your cables. On some designs, maybe a little more, but we're overkilling our stretching part of it, trying to put it through more than your bow's going to put through it. And then we're letting them relax. And then, they're getting checked for length at each thing we do. But then we're going to put them on 100 pounds with a 1/4-inch pin, which is the AMO or the ATA or whatever, whoever's over, initially decided this is how you're supposed to measure a bowstring. That's how we measure them. We got a special air cylinder, 1/4-inch pins. We put them on there, 100 pounds, boom. And then we get our measurement perfect. Literally within a 64th. And then we, if you're getting them from us, shout out to archeryshackstrings.com. We put a zip tie through them, and then when you get them there in the pack, they're, as far as factory spec, perfect. Now we do have some people, and I try to tell people, but they'll cut that zip tie off
and let them untwist.
They'll untwist or twist or whatever happens while they're sitting there or trying to install them, and then trouble happens. But you can watch some of our videos, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn because, every bow's different. We have to twist stuff too. A few times. Not like we're not putting 20 twists in anything, but a lot of especially the binary stuff, if you've watched some of our videos, I'll put them on and we ain't got to touch them. That prime that we did the other day, and the prime's an exception because there's so many pieces on a prime. Usually you do have to do some twerking, but or tweaking, not twerking. Please don't twerk. but it was dead nut perfect without touching it, which is good.
Well, and also rare.
Yeah. But and then you get into other stuff like Hoyt, for example, is bad about publishing their bus cable about a 16th too long, so it seems like a lot of times on Hoyts I have to put a couple twists into the bus cable. Matthews has their own little way of measuring things that we figured out. Everybody's got their little quirks, but anyway, that's my sort of answer is you got to keep tension on it while it's being built, and then when we finally get done with it, one way I check for peep twist before we ever ship it out is, of course, we put a piece of material in it kind of where the peep's going to go. That way when you get it, you can just grab that piece of material when it's in the press, pick it up, and you got your string split in half. But if you got it on a stretcher and you go from 0 to 400 pounds, bam, and that string don't move, that means you're going to have that's going to be a perfect string. But if that thing starts whipping around, then you got a problem. Something wasn't built with the right tension or something. The layout process was bad or whatever. And that's like flag goes up, quality control, let's chunk this one, let's do it again. But that rarely happens the way we have our system set up now. But it's crazy because what's it been, 5-6 years they come out with those machines from Specialty.
Yeah.
And when they first come out, I was like, man, this is a good idea because we had a whole different way of building then. We got a machine, and I was like, we need more machines. So now we got half a shop full of machines here. And those things really changed the way strings were, at least speed-wise, they're a lot quicker, and they're keeping that consistent pneumatic pressure from our compressor on them the whole time. That's just great. I wish I could have invented that.
Yep. It would have been nice. If we did, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
We'd be on the beach with nobody because there's a coronavirus.
Yeah. All right. Doug on Facebook asks, is a stabilizer needed on today's bows?
Not really.
Yeah.
I got my foot stuck. I don't know. I mean, it's according to what you want to accomplish. If you're wanting like super lightweight bow, there's really not any high-end bow now that needs a stabilizer. But
no,
balance-wise, if you want a certain thing, then go ahead and go for it. But
certain feel, I guess, or I remember back in the day when never will forget the Matthew Switchback come out. Everybody had that. Your sight camo had to match. Your stabilizer camo had to match. Your quiver camo had to match. I mean, everybody was OCD on everything had to match.
Yep, same camo. I'll never forget, bowstring-wise, I guess it was about 98. I ordered a couple different colors of bowstring and made me a camo-looking bowstring. It was just green and brown or something like that. But everybody was like, holy crap. Because at that point, a lot of people were just shooting either black or brown and black. That was it.
Yeah.
They didn't even know you could do anything different, or at least a lot of the rednecks around here. And they seen that, and they were like, holy crap. That was like I'd invented fire or something. And then even in the early 2000s, I would have never imagined we would have got to where we're at today of stuff matching. Like,
I know.
You wouldn't believe the people that come in and they're like, I want a flow green string, I want flow green wraps on my arrows and fletchings to match, and I want a flow green peep sight and a kisser button and this and that and other, and we'll do some nice color combos. And I like doing that stuff. And then you still got a few people that just don't care, but for the most part, people love all this, flow green or flow orange or whatever color blue matching.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how stuff has changed.
And, I mean, like now, we really don't see that a whole lot on the hunting side of it. Now, there's still a few out there that, like we've got that Ghost Green and Subalpine Prime sitting up here. We've got some string material that matches that Subalpine camo, sharp. And it's sharp on that bow. Mm-hmm. So, but get back to stabilizer. We kind of got off on a tangent.
My bad.
But
it's up to you. No, you don't need one by no means. If you want a certain balance, yes. For a hunting bow, nah. It's up to you. I got a hunting bow in here. For the most part, I'm recommending a 4 to 6 inch stabilizer unless he just wants something crazy, and that's it.
Yeah. And I guess I'm one of those crazy people. So.
Well, I'd got to shooting the sidebar and all that.
Me
just
too.
To balance, but I'm shooting a heavier movable sight and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to balance out my stuff.
Now, if you're using like a CBE's got them out there, Spot Hog, Excels. Who else am I missing? B3, their sights. If you're running a little bit heavier sight or a dovetail, then you may have to run a front and a sidebar stabilizer. You may. It's just depending on how your setup is.
Yeah.
Especially if you hunt with your quiver on or if you take it off.
Well, for the most part, around here, there's not a long walk into the tree stand. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like out west, I'm sure it's a whole different story. Like you may be walking a long way or stalking or whatever. In that case, you might want a super lightweight setup. But around here, for me, I want the most stable bow and setup I can get. So that's why I'm shooting a little sidebar and all this stuff. But if I'm want to walk a long way, screw the sidebar.
Or you can just take it off, put it in your pack, and put it on when you get there.
That could work.
But that's all I got.
All the questions. Thank y'all for sending them in. It keeps us kind of something to talk about on this podcast. If you got a question, put it in the comments of this podcast. You can email it to TJ at archeryshack.com. You can text us 843-560-9898. That text line just goes to the computer. I've had a couple people, it tells me, I guess somebody tried to call it, but you can't call it. If you need to call us, it's a different line, 864-735-8484. But most people just put them in the YouTube comments, and I get a few on Facebook and all this stuff. So just let us know what questions we can answer or what you want us to talk about or whatever. Yep. My microphone's acting up. It's about to fall. Let's talk about some coronavirus updates.
Well, we got to be careful.
We keep getting videos took down because we're talking about coronavirus, and then I have to go through a rigmarole to get them back up, but it's all right. Locally, no shoots are happening right now. None are even really scheduled.
The one, let's just go ahead and tell them if they don't already know. The Southeast Total Archery Challenge has been, I guess you can say, postponed. They were sending out an email. I haven't got it yet. So if anybody that was registered and you've got the email, either tell us what's going on with it, if they're going to try to reschedule it or what's going on. I was really looking forward to that one.
Well, I think what they're trying to do, from what I've gathered from their post, is they want to still have it, but it's at a sort of a ranch in Tennessee. I think they're just trying to figure out, A, when can we actually start doing stuff again, and B, when is that ranch got a date open that don't conflict with something else they got going on. Because I'm sure if they're going to have the next Total Archery in South Dakota, they don't want to try to run from Tennessee to or somewhere way out west or whatever they have it. So I think they'll still have it. I think it'll just be a
later on
summertime something. We'll still go. But that got canceled. A bunch of ASAs we've talked about before got bumped or got canceled. I don't even know what else. I mean, the whole country is freaking shut down.
Pretty much.
For the most part. Hopefully everybody listening is okay.
Yep.
I know a couple people that's had the corona. Nobody that I know had any super bad symptoms. I know people are dying from it, but everybody I knew was sort of middle-aged, so they were fine. I won't get into all the politics of it, but that's the TAC thing sucks that it had to get canceled or moved or whatever's going to happen.
It did.
And then they canceled or moved the Texas one?
Yeah, Texas was the first one. I think it might have been... I think it was like in the next 2 weeks or something like that. I can't remember.
I was getting antsy about Tennessee because I was like, all right, it's a month away.
Yeah.
We kind of need to know what to do here. And I'd emailed them, and they were like, wait for an email. And we never got one, but which we hadn't registered yet because I was like, hell, I don't want to register. And then we don't,
I had in my head that, okay, we're waiting on the email. If that email doesn't come out by the middle of or so tomorrow, basically, because it'll be Tuesday when this comes out, but middle of next week, I'm going to go ahead and register and just hope for the best kind of deal.
Well, I
and,
mean, I'm sure they're going to transfer it or refund or whatever.
Yeah.
But just us we got a dozen people wanting to go, and
Yeah.
I kind of emailed them and was like, "Hey, we got a group. I just need to know what to tell them or what to do, or But anyway, we know now something's happening, so we'll wait.
Yep.
But so that sucks. I'll be glad just to get to some local shoots again, or us to be able to have a shoot out here or whatever.
I know.
I think we're right here at the top of this mess. I think in the next week or two we're going to level out, and finally they're going. I already seen where Texas is saying, "All right, we're tired of this shit. We're ready to open up some stuff, and we're going to probably come out with some guidelines."
I know a lot of people that call the shop that are in other states. They're like, "How are y'all holding up and all this?" I'm like, "Well, we're not completely a shelter at home order, but home work and pretty much an essential place, family members or whatnot." And a lot of people I've talked to over the last week's just like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm ready. I'm just ready for, ready to get back at it and everything. I'm like, well, I agree 100% because as much as I say it, and I know everybody talks about it because that's all that they're putting out on the news channels and Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat or all them places. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, me too.
And
then we're going to get through Corona, and then we're going to hear election crap from now until the end of the year. But
man, I'm about ready for that to be over with too.
So anyway, just to update y'all on that. We got something a little bigger we're going to be giving away, and we're going to announce it on this coming Thursday's live feed. We actually had a real good live feed this past Thursday because we dismantled a crossbow that was about to explode. We gave away some stuff. We had a good many people interacting with us. That's kind of what we're shooting for.
Yep.
So I'm not going to say what we're giving away on here, but we are going to announce it Thursday, and then probably within a week or so we'll be giving it away on the live feed again. So that'll be cool. Tune in for that. It's Thursday at 6:30 on YouTube. And then, of course, our schedule. I always try to remind people of our schedule. Sunday we usually have a tuning or shooting video that comes out. Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. this podcast comes out. And then the live feed is Thursday at 6:30 p.m. And the live feed, we've only been doing, 4 or 5 weeks? It's building momentum, so that's pretty cool.
Well, let's throw them a question out, what me and you was talking about the other day here in the shop. And put your comments in here. Let us know if you like this idea, if you don't like it, care less. How would y'all like a live podcast on a Saturday evening?
Here's the details. It would be Saturday at about 5:30. The cool thing would be it would be live, and we could actually answer you live, but we're already kind of doing that on Thursday night. The bad thing would be the audio is definitely not going to be as good, and the video quality is definitely not going to be as good because of all the streaming and stuff. That's pretty much it. I mean, it'd be the same format except for we could kind of talk to you. What I don't think is going to be good is if we did that. I think Saturday evening a lot of people are going out to eat, except for right now, but a lot of people are going out to eat and doing stuff with their family, so I don't know how many we'd have on here live. But if it's something everybody was like, heck yeah, I think absolutely you should do it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
But it'll just, like I say, the audio and the video will definitely not be near as good.
Maybe we could combine Tech Thursday and podcast one week.
We could. I've thought about that.
So just let us know what you think. We just throwing around ideas, talking, trying to,
And we're also, for Tech Thursday, it's another one of those, I want to be able to do bigger stuff, but the more we move around, the more racket we make and the worse the audio is. So we've been trying to sit over there at that other counter, and I know at some point we'll be doing some other stuff. The audio is going to suffer a little bit. And I know it's not a huge deal, but I hate listening to stuff to where sometimes you can't hear people and sometimes you can, and there's some static, and I hate that. So I'm trying to avoid it. But yeah, let us know any changes like that. Let us know, hey, I think this would be a good idea. This wouldn't be a good idea. We could change up days and times and that type of thing or whatever. So, yeah.
And then check out the Thursday live feed. We did one earlier as of bow maintenance. So we're gonna switch it up and do a different type of maintenance video
Yeah.
on the live feed. So y'all stay tuned for that.
We'll be doing that this coming week, and the giveaway information. So that'll be cool. And then I think I've got a prime and a Hoyt video to edit and get out, which I think I'm going to do the prime one and have it out tomorrow, which already happened by the time this comes out, so sort of the week ahead. But thank y'all for listening. Hit the subscribe button if you don't mind and you hadn't already. Check out our links below. The links below that I link to products gives us a small percentage if you buy them, and then it can help us buy stuff like microphones and cameras or whatever else we need here. I'm glad we got this good microphone set up, but I did dump about $400 or $500 into getting it, so a few bucks here and there kind of helps pay for that stuff. But check those links out. Watch for our stuff coming out Thursday. This is what, 34?
34.
Yeah, 34 weeks of podcast.
Yes.
Well, we're going to come up with something. I have no idea what it's going to be yet, but we're going to come up with something big when we hit our 1 year mark. I don't know if it'll be I may reach out to some companies, maybe a bunch of giveaways or something. I don't know what yet. We're going to come up with it. Hopefully y'all are staying safe. And like TJ said, anything, put it down in the comments. We'll read it, see what's going on.
Yeah, like I said, and I know everybody's sitting at home right now, so
yeah, it's kind of a different time.
So just let us know.
We'll see y'all Thursday night, hopefully.
Yep, have a good one.
See ya.